What's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video, another quick take, a very unfortunate one. And this is actually like a continuation of the last podcast episode. And y'all could, check the channel and check that out if you want to. So I got my two partners, Steve and LeVar. What's happening, fellas?
What's up?
Going on? What's going on?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Terence Crawford stopping Errol Spence by technical knockout in the 9th round last night. Okay, and now Terence Crawford is now the undisputed champion at 147. Now, me and LeVar, we talked about this for about 2-3 hours last night, so I know what he has to say. But Steve, you are an Errol Spence fan, so I want to get your thoughts about the fight before me and LeVar, we get into ours.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta just give my props to Bud. I mean, listen, I'm a Spence fan. I was a Bud fan too at the beginning, but I became a Spence believer, I guess, because the way he hits hard and he hurts people. Not taking any credit away from Bud. I mean, but man, it was tragic. It was tragic. It was one of those things you couldn't fathom. You couldn't see this coming. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. That's boxing, man. That's the love of this sport. And this is the excitement about it. You stick with your guy, and I'm gonna stick with my guy, Errol. And it was just shocking. It was just shocking before we get into it. So I just want to start with that. It was shocking. I think we're all in mourning right now. And I know I can't imagine what he's going through. You know, so shout out to the Bud fans, man. Yo, credit where credit's due. I never was a Bud basher. It was just, you pick with somebody, you ride with it. Yeah, I put some money on it. I put some money on it. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out. It was like watching a Super Bowl and your team loses 50-0. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
it hit hard. It hit hard. So, props to you, LeVar. I mean, good call.
He called it. Yeah, he called it. Now, I just want to say, just as a Spence fan, and I've talked about this, about 5 times just last night. I think Errol really, the reason why he lost, and me and LeVar, we talked about this, is Errol went in there and just said, I'm going to do me. You remember LeVar? He just decided, he going to go in there and then just do what he does best. And then he thought that that's what was going to, get him the victory. And against a guy like Terence Crawford, that wasn't enough. Terence Crawford made Errol Spence look basic last night. Basic. And my thing is, dog, I expected, just like you, Steve, I expected the fight to at least be tit for tat, to be the Hagler Hearns that we were promised. And we didn't get that. The fight was a shutout from start to finish. From start to, I won't even really say from start to finish, but from the second round onward, it was
second round,
Terence Crawford. And I told my dad, I was like, yo, I'm going to score the fight. So just in case people say it's a robbery, when Spence wins, I'm going to have the scorecard. That scorecard looked bad. It looked bad. You know what I'm saying? So, honestly, yeah, like you said, much respect to Bud fans, because that's your boy. You know what I'm saying? I might not like it. I still don't really like Terence Crawford, but I have to respect him as a boxer, and I got to respect his skills. He showed Errol that it's levels to this. And you can't just think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Because these guys are from Texas. And if I'm from New York and I use the terminology or the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I know they're using that. And that's not enough. And that's exactly why it looked so bad last night. Is because Errol was underprepared.
Yep.
LeVar, what about you?
Underprepared. Yeah, man.
Yeah, because you talk a whole lot of trash, man. This man just got over here trolling my comments, sending me mad DMs, mad Spence slander.
Well,
so you had a lot to say. So let's hear it. You had a lot to say. So let's hear it, bro.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
One thing I want to say with Crawford that I give him a bit of respect for, besides just the fight itself, but after the fight, I think one of the commentators or whatever he is, analyst, whatever, he was asking Crawford about the rematch. He was like, so do you think the fans are going to want to see this rematch? Do you think that the rematch is really necessary after what happened tonight? And honestly, Crawford was really avoiding everything that he could have said to talk trash about Errol Spence. He was like, man, yeah, the fans will want to come see it. I think it's something that the fans will want to see. And I was like, bro, Terence Crawford could have said a whole bunch of wild stuff. He could have been extra immature because the way, like, the performance he put on, he could have said anything he wanted to that night.
Yeah.
And he chose to still be respectful. So I definitely respect him on that.
To Errol, to Errol,
yeah. And then with Errol Spence, like I said before in the last podcast, I don't hate Errol Spence as a person. I respect him. I just think that in terms of boxing, he should have been a bit more aware of what he was getting himself into, and also the training around him. Because me and you talked about it yesterday, obviously, about how Errol Spence came underprepared and he wasn't really trying to because I always say this, like, Errol Spence just punches to get onto the line. He never throws any feints or probes, hardly ever. And that is extremely dangerous against a counter puncher like Terence Crawford. And I kept saying, like, Terence Crawford hits really hard. People see Terence Crawford knock out some small dude and be like, man, they ain't really nobody. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, because Errol Spence don't move his head after he punched. Because there was so many times in the fight where Terence Crawford would basically throw a shot at Errol Spence and he'll have his hands up. And then immediately after, Errol Spence hands down, and he's trying to pull out the line backwards, which is very dangerous. And that was one thing I was talking about in the last podcast, too. I was like, bro, Errol Spence does some of the most dangerous stuff I've ever seen before in my life in boxing and gets away with it because he don't be going against dudes that's trying to interact with him like that. Because every time Errol Spence threw a jab, Crawford was there for the counter, interacting with him every single time. Like I said, it was going to happen. And Errol Spence, like in I think it was like, the fifth round, I ain't see no jabs. Errol Spence, that boy was no part of the line after all them times that he threw a jab. Because I was saying it, I was like, if someone throws or if you throw a punch at somebody and they throw a punch back at you, and you get either hit by it or they just showing you that they're throwing a punch, it's gonna make you more or less enticed to want to keep throwing that same punch at them because you obviously don't want to get punched back in the face or don't want to keep getting hit with that same counter shot. It's basically just common sense at this point. And for Errol Spence to kind of just go in there and look like an amateur, really, because you said it like best a bit like a couple minutes ago. You said Terence Crawford made Errol Spence look basic, and he really did. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Errol Spence was a quote-unquote basic fighter to begin with, but one of the reasons why people were saying that Errol Spence was going to win in the first place was because of his quote-unquote fundamentals. And I was like, since when did we praise people for having fundamentals more than actually being advanced like Terence Crawford is? Because I understand, even if Errol Spence did have fundamentals, which I believe he had a lot, to be real, because he falls off balance with a lot of punches. He pulls his head straight back off the line. A lot of time, he don't really move it side to side. Like I said yesterday, he fight like we're one-dimensional human beings. That nigga just moves forward and backwards. He don't move side to sides or diagonally like Terence Crawford. And like I said, I can't really blame Errol Spence too much for that because that's what his coach should have trained him. He's paying Derrick James good money, I assume, to be getting this boxing knowledge, which he should have got against Terence Crawford. And even though, like I said, I blame Errol Spence for the ego part of it, it's still at the end of the day not the fighter's job when to learn or to get taught the aspect of boxing. That's the teacher's job. You have to teach them everything that they know. And when the dudes told Derrick James that Errol Spence don't move his head like that, and he just ignored that, I think he told them dudes or he slurred them or something like that. I forgot what he said. But when you just ignore
he basically brushed it off. He brushed it off.
Yeah, basically just brush it off. And I'm like, when you just ignore stuff like that, it just shows that you are already setting up Errol Spence for failure. You were already doing that from the jump. You could have Errol Spence could have brought more people in too.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. You know, what I was gonna say. What we talked about last night, as far as like the rematch. Because here's my thing, and then Steve, I'm gonna have you chime in. But my thing with the rematch is that Errol has to do something different for the freaking rematch. All right. And mind you, and because the thing is, last night and just now you were saying that, the onus as far as like what happened last night is on Derrick James. And my thoughts on Derrick James is this, and I've been detected this a long time ago. Once I saw Derrick James brought in Anthony Joshua into, his camp, then he brought in Ryan Garcia. I said, something is going to suffer if all of these guys are getting trained all at the same time because their fight dates are all intersecting. So that means Errol is not spending nearly as much time with Derrick James as he should be preparing for the fight of his career. Because if you go on Derrick James' Instagram right now, you're going to see pictures with Ryan Garcia talking about more bonding time with Ryan. And then when the reporter asked him, they said, "Oh, Derrick, so, what's your plan for the next days following the loss?" And he says, "Oh, I'm actually going to be taking a flight out to the UK with Anthony Joshua." And I'm like, yo, like, my man, like, you have to
he said that
focused.
after the Errol Spence fight?
Yeah, he said that at the post-fight interview. I'm like, my man,
that's crazy.
Y'all should be focusing on what happens next, what you could be doing to be better, but he can't do that because now he's getting paid to train Anthony Joshua. You can't have multiple all-star players on one team. It just doesn't work like that. There's going to be an imbalance.
Yep.
So Errol, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure that this is a factor that Errol didn't get the time that he needed to get with Derrick James. And my thing is this: if Terence Crawford has 3 trainers, then Errol needs to add people. So if I can't get the time that that I'm supposed to be getting with Derrick James, then let me get somebody else to fill in those gaps. So if I can only spend 25% of my time with Derrick James, then who else can I get to spend another 25% with? And then one more guy to spend 25% with. You see what I'm saying? I said last night, I said it to other people, and I'm going to say it again. If I'm Errol, I'm going to get Kenny Porter to be my second coach. Because Kenny Porter is the guy that actually got me into the sport. It wasn't Shawn. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Keith Thurman. It was Kenny Porter who got me into the sport of boxing.
But I don't have, there's really no excuse. What I'm saying is, because if you were winning the way you were winning, so you stick with that plan. But I like what they said, what Bud said. They worked on that jab. They
taking away the jab.
Take away the jab, and the rest it was in his footwork. Did you see Terrence's footwork? The slide.
Oh yeah, I was telling y'all about that. I was
but then I like even what his corner told him: speed it up, slow it down, speed it up, slow it down. So Errol just didn't know which way he was gonna come. And Errol, after that first knockdown, I knew it was a wrap because I was like, he took everything away. Errol had no more sting. He was trying to throw haymakers, and Bud was just looking. If you watch Bud was just looking at him. All Bud had to do was move his head, and then, like you said, he was just doing what he did best.
He was just doing what he did best. So, and Terence Crawford had an answer for that. He had an answer for that, so he didn't really have to take much away.
It's a little too soon to ask for a rematch right after the
That's
fight.
What I'm saying.
Errol was in shock. He was in shock. He couldn't believe what happened.
But here's the thing: Errol has to take the rematch, though. He has to take the rematch. There's no way that somebody like Errol Spence, you lived your whole entire life for that moment, for it to be taken away from you, for you to get robbed like that. And when I say robbed, I mean in the sense that Errol was the one that did all the heavy lifting at 147. He did all the heavy lifting. He had 3 belts. Terence Crawford only had 1. When I saw Terence Crawford put on all those belts, I was like, yo, those are not his. Errol can do it. Even if he doesn't win, Steve, you can agree, Errol Spence owes the fans and Terence Crawford a better fight. He owes us a better fight than we got. We were promised a Hagler Hearns, some next tit for tat bloodbath fight, and we didn't get it. He owes that to himself too. Errol knows he could have been better than that. He knows he could have been better than that.
I don't think we're gonna get it. I really don't. I think in the heat of the moment, yeah, of course, we want that. But if you saw that the way Terence put on that show, I don't think you can't change, the stripes of a tiger. And Errol,
no. We're not. The goal is not to change it. You're just adding more. He can improve. He can evolve. That's what he needs to do. He needs to evolve.
Terence showed he's got more armor in his utility belt, and I take it like that. Like I said, when he lost, of course he's gonna say, Errol gonna say, yeah, he won a rematch. Terence was like, he really. Terence could have just punished him even more if you watch that fight. Terence was holding back
because the ref really stopped it early too. Like he could have let that go.
The ref stopped it.
Right, but I don't think
Errol would have got embarrassed. Man.
Yeah, but I don't think Errol should be comfortable. If he's the guy that he's always made himself out to be, I don't think he could really live with himself or move up knowing that he got ran out of his own division. He got ran out of his own division by a guy that really only showed up there in 2017. Errol's been at 147 since what? 2013, 2014? He's been there. He made his pro debut in what? Yeah, 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, that long, 10 years ago.
I say give it time. Just give it
That's
time.
Tough.
Think about, remember when the fight was supposed to happen? And we were saying, Bud was ducking. I think what Bud did was he just needed more time to really prepare for this. And he said, listen, your preparation is what was all about. Don't get me wrong. I know both of these guys put in hard work, with their running and sparring and all that. But I'm just using this as an example. I was a city championship in the hurdles, right? All year. I didn't lose. I got to the championship and I lost to my man Mike. He caught me at the line. And he said to me, I trained all year just to beat you for this moment. I'm an athlete. I know what it takes. And I didn't really 110 hurdles wasn't my thing. I was more of a long jumper, triple jumper, 4x1 relay specialist. But all I'm saying is there's always somebody out there who trains just as hard because they know what they're going to face. And I think Bud, the pressure was on his back.
Yeah, LeVar, didn't I say that last night? Yeah. Remember, I mentioned that Diddy quote from Making the Band, and I said how Diddy, I always remember this when Diddy said there's always somebody in life trying to take your spot. That is a fact. Always trying to take your spot. But the thing is, if Errol is going to activate that rematch clause, because, in my mind, I see it happening either December, January. He has to evolve.
No.
Okay, but all right, but no, because that's how a rematch clause works. You can't have a rematch. You can't have a rematch clause and then take an interim fight and then have it's an immediate rematch clause. Right, so if we're in August right now, then the fight would have to happen in December or January. But here's why I say that if I'm Errol Spence or if I'm in that situation, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and I'm already going to get right back training. I'm already going to get back into camp and start to set up the things that I need to be successful, which is a Kenny Porter, which is a third coach. I'm going to get people that are familiar with who Terence Crawford is. I have to go back to the drawing board. So when I come back, even if I don't win, I'm going to give fans the fight that they were supposed to get in the first place. That's what I'm talking about, because that was not a fight worthy of what it was on paper. That is not what we were reading on paper. Last night was a shutout. Errol Spence is so much better than that. And I'm saying that as an Errol Spence fan. And I'm also saying that from the aspect of a guy that actually trains myself. So I'm saying he can actually go and get the elements he needs to beat Terence Crawford. LeVar is a Terence Crawford fan. He said that Terence Crawford has flaws. So if LeVar, who is a fan of him, can say that Terence Crawford has flaws, you don't think that boxing experts like a Kenny Porter can help him figure it out? That's what I'm saying.
This is one thing I'll say with Errol Spence, though. It's not like Errol Spence could just learn a couple things and then automatically he in contention with Terence. Because not only can Errol Spence get better, Crawford could literally be working too. He's not a dummy. He's not going to just take time off and be like, okay,
no. And I said that last night, though. I said Terence Crawford in a rematch, Terence Crawford is going to approach it as if he never beat Errol at all. Terence Crawford is going to stay locked in.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I mean, if I was Terence Crawford, my ideology or my mentality is going to be, I'm going to beat you worse than I did the first time.
But do you remember when after Errol beat Porter, right? Porter said he trained really hard for that fight. And he came, it was a damn good fight, and Errol caught him with that left.
Yeah.
Then when he fought Bud, he wasn't as because that fight took so much steam out of Porter. And, when he fought Bud, he just wasn't the same guy the way he fought Errol. And I just don't see it. I mean, anything can happen. I'm not knocking. But all I'm saying is I don't see it. This is just my perspective. I don't see it happening.
But I do.
Because
and you know what I would say to Kenny Porter too?
The steam that got taken out of Errol, that you ever have, like I say, you train so hard, and just to have your bubble deflated in such a way where psychologically
if his bubble is deflated, if his bubble is deflated, then that would really be up to him. Because a loss like that could easily be the best thing that ever happened to Errol as a fighter. But that's up to him. Because you know what I would say to Kenny Porter? I would say, look, I'm interested in having you join my camp for this rematch. I know you said that there were things that Shawn Porter didn't do in training, or he didn't do the things you needed him to do in order to be successful against Terence Crawford. So everything that Shawn didn't do, with your help, I will do those things. Because Kenny Porter would know that. Because Kenny Porter is a completely different trainer than Derrick James. So the more, the merrier. It's like when they say you need more people. Spence needs more people. He needs to evolve, and he needs to incorporate those elements. That's like when Michael Jordan got beat by Detroit the second time. He had to do something different. He added Tim Grover. He had to do different things. I feel like Errol has enough natural talent and enough skill where if put in the right environment or with the right, like elements or how should I say, elements or variables introduced, he'll at least have a better fight. Now, to say
he got more than
Terence Crawford, I'm not 100% sure, but I honestly think we could see a better version of Errol Spence if he has that type of approach, if he has the mentality.
Terence Crawford has
you could be
100%
right, Steve. You could be right, Steve, in a sense that he could be deflated right now. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know what he's thinking right now. But I truly hope and believe that he has it within himself to be so much better. This is a guy who survived a car accident. No broken bones, no nothing. Came back, fought a top 5 welterweight. Was successful. Then freaking fought Ugas after detached retina. Was fucking successful. He didn't take any tune-ups, and that was his problem. LeVar, I'm quoting you when you said Errol has a big ego. I truly believe his ego is what made him underestimate Terence Crawford. Because if he was actually looking at Terence Crawford the way he was supposed to, his performance would have been different. He would have at least had a whole lot more adjustments than he did last night. That boy didn't have not one adjustment beyond trying to press the action.
Well, Errol's that kind of guy. Punches, he comes and beats you up.
And what's funny, his punches to the body look like deflected bullets.
That's what I'm saying, because he wasn't even hitting Terence Crawford with his knuckles.
He wasn't.
Slapping him with the palm of his hand.
He wasn't. The steam out of him that first knockdown.
And his rear foot was off the ground, so all his weight wasn't even in the punch.
Yeah,
I told people that so many times, his power was so lacking. Like,
wait, for me, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh well, yeah. Like I was saying, essentially, like I'm gonna be honest, Errol Spence, and this is coming from a Terence Crawford fan, right? With the right amount of time, firstly, Errol Spence needs time because he can't just learn everything he needs to know in 3 months, unless, like I said, he meets like a false boxing or he meets like a bull
somebody like that. Who's to say he doesn't meet some, but that's if he wants to. That's the three of us, so we're on the outside looking in. And Errol is freaking stubborn because Errol, y'all know Blu-ray, right? Steve, I know you know Blu-ray. He stopped training his old strength and conditioning coach from I think either before the Van Heerden fight, maybe before that, all the way up until I think the Lamont Peterson fight. I think, or no. So he stopped training with Blu-ray just before the Mikey Garcia fight. That was the first fight that he said he didn't do any strength and conditioning. While he was with Blu-ray, he had a 13 knockout streak with Blu-ray strength and conditioning. After that, once he said he stopped working with Blu-ray, that's when you started to see Errol going 12 rounds. That's when you started to see him only getting knocked downs, but no more knockouts. I mean, really, the Ugas fight was the accumulation of punches. That's what stopped Ugas, but it wasn't like crazy superpower or anything like that. He needs to bring
that's exactly what I said.
Back.
Because remember last podcast, I was saying that Errol Spence is the type of dude where he doesn't have one punch knockout power, but he has to sit on the line with you for a very long time to get the same kind of effect that Terence Crawford could get on only a couple times. Yeah, he got to really land like hundreds of shots to really hurt you and stop you. Because even with Kell Brook, it took him 10 rounds to make Kell Brook take a knee. With Terence Crawford, he had Kell Brook one good time in the 4th round. Kell Brook didn't even know he
right was. Cross, man. That right cross.
That's what I'm saying.
But you know why? But you know why though? Is because Terence Crawford does have a very extensive strength and conditioning regimen. And I've seen it. So he's actually a guy that pays great attention to strength and conditioning. I've seen it. Errol stopped doing that. Errol stopped doing that. You think if all right. Google right now. Kell Brook versus Errol Spence. Look at Errol Spence's physique.
We're on the Zoom.
No, listen. No, you can still do that. I'm on Google. I'm on Google right now. Google Errol Spence. Oh well, yeah, you're on your phone, so you can't do that. But all right, but view this in your mind. Then think about it mentally. Remember Errol Spence's physique versus Kell Brook, and then look at his physique
he was bigger.
versus Danny Garcia. No comparison. No
Yeah,
comparison.
he was way bigger. Well, I wouldn't say way bigger, but he
bigger
had more muscle.
versus Kell
I think
Brook
the
than he
Porter
was Danny
fight,
Garcia.
He had more
looked the
muscle.
strongest at the Porter fight. The Porter fight, he looked like a beast on the Porter fight.
Well, he did strength and conditioning, or he did some, he said. All right, but it still wasn't to the same degree as it was with Blu-ray. So I'm saying he needs to incorporate all. You can't leave any stone unturned against a guy like Terence Crawford.
With that being said, like
out of the equation is Porter's power. I mean, Bud's power. Bud's power is because when he hit Kell Brook with that, he hit Porter with that right. There's something about that though that check right
because he's a natural right-hander. He's a natural right-hander. So if I turn southpaw and my power hand is my lead hand, the way that my lead hand is going to function is going to be a lot different than if I'm using my left hand as my lead hand. These are the stops these are the things. That's the attention to detail that Errol needs to do, because he said he didn't watch any film on Terence Crawford. He was like, I'm a fight fan. I've seen Terence Crawford fight, therefore I don't have to study him. I don't have to watch tape on him.
Yeah, he was
that was wrong.
He was wilding with that. Yeah, he was definitely wilding with that one. But with that being said, like another thing about Terence Crawford's power is he most likely is a natural right-hander, right? But he also he also knows how to get some real striking going on, because boxing and striking, like we was talking about yesterday, can both be taught. It's not like someone's just born naturally with a certain amount of power over somebody else. They have to develop that technique over a certain period of training, or just really good at learning. That's why I say when Errol Spence, if he's thinking about rematching Terence Crawford, you need to go back to square one and learn about the actual sport of boxing. You have to learn how boxing works.
Get into the craft, evolve, show a new look. Yeah, he has to show a new look. So if nothing else, no, go ahead. Bro. No, I was gonna say, if nothing else, when Terence Crawford does get in there, if nothing else, you would say that was a different fighter. That was a different guy than who I fought the first time. That was a different Errol Spence. That's what I want to see. I just want to, because I'm not even gonna lie. If I spent $85 last night, I would be upset, because that's not the fight that I would want to pay for. I would have been upset too. I would have been upset. Unfortunately, I went out to go see it. But if I spent $85 on that, like I normally, because I usually always buy Errol Spence pay-per-view. But if I did, I would have been like, Errol, I want that rematch, and you owe me a better fight. I still believe in him.
I think it was worth it, because as fight fans, that's what you wanted to see. What was in that ring was between those two, and Errol got his ass whipped. That's the bottom line. There was
the truth definitely came out that night. The truth
came out.
Well, hey, man, I still believe in him. I still believe in him.
Oh no, I'm a believer in him.
I still think
Terence,
if he does get that rematch, because it's easy for me. It's easy for me to, I don't want to say jump on the Crawford bandwagon. I give him the respect that he is owed after a performance like that. Great, masterful performance, absolutely. But I'm still Team Spence, and I at least think do not leave 147 without giving us what we were promised, because that was not a Hagler earn. It was not. It was not.
Like the most important aspects I was talking about earlier was, if Spence wants to beat Crawford, not only should he just learn boxing, right? But there's some main keys he should specifically work on. The first thing and the most important thing, the obvious thing that I kept talking about, head movement. If he throws, like if he goes against Terence Crawford the next time, throws a jab, and he doesn't bring his head off the line, he's gonna lose again. There's no way he's gonna beat Terence Crawford ever if he can never throw a jab and then get his head straight off the line.
And do the same shit.
But what about Terence Crawford's not moving up, right?
He's open to it, because last night he said that
Boots
they asked
is
him.
Going to be the next one.
No, because they said they asked him. He said last night they were like, Errol said that he'd be interested in the rematch at 104 pounds. They said, how would you feel about that? And he says, well, making 147 is hard for me too, so I wouldn't mind moving up to 147, because I already called out Charlo, because he said that, I'm going to beat Errol, and then I'm going to move up, and then I'm going to beat you. And I'm pretty sure you've seen it, LeVar. He was talking shit to Jamel while he was in the ring. When he knocked down Errol the second time, he went on the ropes, found Jamel, and was talking trash to him.
Yeah,
mid-fight. Then after that, after he stopped Errol, he went right back to Charlo and was talking more trash to him. So he already wants to move up to 154 anyway. But Errol,
Because
I
it
just
gets
don't think
very
it's fair.
interesting.
I don't think it would be fair for Errol because Errol's not the A side anymore. And if I was
Most definitely
Errol,
not, yeah.
my thing is, again, I'm 147. That was my division. I was the king, the top dog of that division. I will not allow this man to run me out of my own division. You know what I'm saying? Because his cachet right now, I'm not going to say it's out the window because if you're going to lose to anybody, you would want to lose to number one pound for
To the
pound.
best.
Nobody can really blame you for losing to arguably number one pound for pound, the best fighter in the world, right? But at the same time, it's like if you move up to 154, people are going to tell you not only did the guy take all your belts, but he ran you out of your own division. So anything that Errol Spence does at 154, it's not really going to mean anything because, your story was supposed to be told a different way. So at least fight for your belts. Fight for them. If I could call Errol Spence right now, I would say, go get your belts back. Go get them shits back. They're not his. Those are your belts. Go get your shit back. Get your shit back. Because you know what?
Think about it like Tyson. When Tyson fought Buster Douglas had his number and Buster Douglas knocked Mike out. So I'm just saying that's the way I felt the way Errol lost. And sometimes, man, you for a minute, like I said, I'm in mourning because I'm not ready to see him even think about a rematch yet.
Yeah, not even
the way he lost that fight. The way he lost that fight, I'm telling you, Bud actually saw it, and Bud was like, you could tell Bud was like just putting up his guard. He doing like a that like just and wasn't even swinging, and Errol was backing up. Bud put fear it. Bud took his goddamn heart away, and
he outclassed him. He outclassed him.
He outclassed him.
But I think
and
again,
we're taking away from what Bud can do to a fighter, man. I mean, I hear you.
Errol is T'Challa. Freaking Crawford is Killmonger. Okay, he need to go back. He need to go back and get the throne. That's all he need to do. Come back stronger. He is not the true king. He is not the real king. He's the false king of 147. He needs to go back and get his shits back. I would tell Errol, you can do it. He can do it. He can do it. If Errol should be doing two things right now, Steve, LeVar. He should be either by himself. He should be by himself thinking about how he's going to get them belts back, or two, at Jermell Charlo's house, talking about the loss and how he can come back. Because when Charlo lost to Tony Harrison, he became a better fighter after that. That's how we got the Charlo that we have today. Because he stayed grounded, he stayed focused, he stayed locked in. That's what.
Now, if let's say he wins the next one, so we'll have a trilogy, right? And I saw that years ago. It went to a trilogy, right? And then the third fight, homeboy broke his. I can't remember his name, but it'll come to me. He broke his hand, and he beat the guy with one hand. It was crazy. So anything is possible. I hear what you're saying, but for right now, it's just hard to see it right now. The way
I honestly really see it, and if I wish I could just tell Errol that. I would just tell Errol, those are not his fucking belts. Get your shits back. You can do it. You know what I would do if I was Errol? Everything has to change. He has to evolve. One, you know how most fighters, they go away to train? That's what Errol needs to do. So no more bringing, your daughters and your sons, having your family all there, all comfortable, in the gym with you. That's got to go. I would tell my girl, we are $15 to $20 million richer. I got to go. I'm going to war. I got to get my belts back. My family is set. My family is good. I'm either going in the mountains or I'm going in the desert. So one or the other.
Tell me this wasn't forecast, though, when he brought Eminem and he said you only got one shot.
That was fire. That was fire.
That was great.
That was fire. Terence Crawford had the better walkout. When I saw Eminem and he was doing losing stuff, I was like, yo.
I was like, who in the world is Errol Spence? Bro, dude, Errol Spence was walking out with, bro, dude's stomach was hanging out, his shirt and he couldn't keep inside.
It wasn't on point.
What's going on?
Yeah, it wasn't on point.
Texas shit, man.
It was Texas. But the thing is, that Eminem song, it meant something. When I seen him wearing the net, and I was with my dad, I was like, yo, he don't got a net big enough. The net worked. It worked.
I ain't gonna lie. I didn't even realize Terence Crawford was walking out with he was promoting that prom stuff that KSI and Logan Paul got. Them little YouTubers, they got this little drink called prom. He was drinking that shit after the fight too. And I ain't gonna lie, KSI
I didn't see that.
Did you see the name he had on his Terence? You see the name he had on his right side?
Nah, I didn't see that.
Ooh.
Okay. there was a name on his right side. That was the person he dedicated his fight to who died.
Oh, I did see that.
What was it? His relative?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, but
well, like I said, Terence Crawford is locked in.
Terence
Crawford is locked in. He was locked in, and against a guy like that, it's like me. I have to have that same energy, that same drive. You fighting for something. I feel like Errol, he just like Errol, he is the example of it's hard to get out of bed when you're waking up in silk sheets. I honestly feel like he got to that point, but just not as bad because he made the fight happen. He got through camp, he made the fight happen, but he didn't have that same edge that Terence Crawford had. He didn't. He didn't because for Errol to be that rough, rugged fighter on the inside, I saw none of that. I saw none of that last night.
He wasn't hungry from that first knockdown. It was shock.
Yeah, Errol was sitting there telling him, shaking hands with him. If anything, it wasn't him looking away. He was like, "Oh, thank you for making the fight." And then Terence Crawford was like, "Oh, yeah, you don't have to thank me, something. Oh, yeah, we're going to make bank." It's not about the money. It's not about the money, man. Yep. Who cares if you're making $15, $20 million? Because you're looking at the bread. I understand that. Like, you want to take yourself, your family, you want to make sure you're straight. But that's why he lost. That's exactly why he lost, because he focused on the dollars. Anthony Joshua said the same thing. Anthony Joshua was like, "Yo, I don't like to box. I'm here because of the money." He said that at his last press conference. Not the Dillian White one, but the Jermaine Franklin one or some shit.
He used to say it was about the belts at first.
Well, yeah, at first. Now he's like, "Yo, I'm a prize fighter. I care about money." That's what he said. He's like, "Yo, I like to get paid."
Yeah, he wilding with that.
Errol hanging out with him, of all people. Ryan Garcia and Anthony Joshua, two guys that to me are not even focused.
Yep,
Ryan Garcia, the Instagram fighter who got knocked out by Gervonta Davis, and then Anthony Joshua, the guy who said he only fights for money. And these are the guys that are in his camp. And I'm supposed to be happy about that?
How my steam is taken out, man. I'm like, damn. I'm still like, Jesus.
That's what I'm saying.
It was hard for me to watch the recap. And then,
I'm never watching that fight again. Oh, absolutely not. I'm never watching Terence Crawford ever again in life. You're not going to see me watch any highlights. I'm not watching the fight. I'm not watching that. Why would I want to see my favorite fighter outside of the ring get his ass whooped like
because
that?
It puts you in a sense of reality, man.
No. I didn't need reality to know all of that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need to see that fight to know all of that.
You sound like that Trump supporter who don't watch nothing but Fox News. You see
reality? No. Reality is Jermell losing to Tony Harrison. To me, that's fine because that was a tit for tat fight. He didn't get his ass whooped. Okay, reality is Errol Spence getting into that bad car accident and coming back. That's reality. Reality is the fact that Errol underestimated Terence Crawford. I don't need to see the fight again. I don't need to see the fight multiple times to know that.
His game plan just didn't work the way he thought it was going to work. I don't think he underestimated.
Yeah, but he did underestimate Terence Crawford. He definitely underestimated Terence Crawford.
I would say this. I would say 20%. I would say 20% of his loss came from underestimation of Terence Crawford. 80% of it came off the fact that just the tools that he had didn't line up well with what Terence Crawford had. Because you got to think about it.
It just wasn't good. He got outclassed. It just was not a good match. Like, I didn't realize how much of a bad matchup it was until last night. I was like, yo, this is not the best matchup given what Errol Spence is presenting, because Terence Crawford had an adjustment to that. If you ask them what, because this is it. When they asked Derrick James, like, what about their plan didn't work, Derrick James didn't even really have an answer. Derrick James
he had no plan.
Yeah, he was like, he stood in front of him too much. That's not a real answer, dog. That's not a real answer. Bomac said it. Bomac was like, he didn't have a plan. That's why he lost. And it's a fact. It's a fact. Yep. I can't just say, all right, LeVar, I'm gonna spar you and not have a plan. Every single time I've had a sparring ever in my life, I always had a plan. How closely I follow that plan, it was really up in the air depending on how the sparring went. But I always had a keys to sparring in my email.
But throughout all Errol's fights, let me just say this: throughout all Errol's fights, all right, you go with what's been working. So most of theirs was conditioning and punishment, taking punishment. But it was sneaky because I guess they didn't expect Terence to hit that hard. All right,
because they underestimated him. They underestimated him. That's why.
Right, but what I'm saying is their plan is not to change from what's been working.
Exactly, but you can't do that in boxing. You can't do that in boxing.
But let's say you're winning. You never lost. Your plan is to go and seek and destroy. But Errol is not. They say he can box. Yeah, he can box. But Terence was putting up different looks, different shit. He had
a plan. He had a plan. Like where would Terence Crawford be if he didn't have a plan?
That's all I'm saying. It's not the fact they didn't have a plan. Their plan
didn't have a plan?
I'm saying, but I mean, Errol. It's not they didn't have a plan. We don't know
they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan.
We don't know
they did not have a plan.
But what I'm
Bomac
saying
said
is
that Bomac is a boxing expert, and he can tell that they didn't have any real plan. Because your plan is the adjustments.
Like a real plan. Like
that's how you know somebody has a plan. If they make adjustments, what adjustments did Errol make in
Errol's
9
not
rounds?
That guy.
He didn't make any.
Adjustments he's never had to.
Errol talks about adjustments a lot. Errol does make adjustments.
That's one of the main things I was saying about Errol Spence was the lack of adjustments. Not only just the fact that he don't have to make adjustments, but the people that he fights, right? Most of those people were, let's be honest here, because I don't want to slander Spence, but most of the people he fought was just.
I mean, it's a little late for that now. All right, you've done a lot of slander. It's a little late now before I screenshot them DMs, bro. It's a little late. This nigga was like, "Yo, the truth, my ass." Like, yo,
no, their plan is to hit you in your shoulders, hit you in your hip. That's always their plan. But after he got hit, it took all the steam out. His punches just lost. He lost all his punches. Terence Crawford took his will because Errol's punches. He was hitting Terence, and Terence was like, "Okay, that's it." Because Terence, when he dropped him, that changed the whole dynamics of everything.
Well, yeah, because when you get knocked down, something in your mind changes, and I feel like Errol's
he's never been on his ground.
It decreased. Yeah, it decreased after that, and it was decreasing because that was the first time Errol's been dropped. That didn't even look normal. To me, seeing that, I was like, "Oh shit!" That was the first time he's ever been dropped, and it happened multiple times.
And by his mind just went, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, by the time so if the fight ended in the 9th round, so either by the 6th or the 7th or the 8th round, one of them, the camera got a shot of Errol's face, and y'all can go back and watch it. I don't ever want to see it again. But when you look at his eyes, the fight, like I was like, all the fight in him is gone. I looked at my dad. I said, "It's over." I said, "It's over." Because he looked like he was about to cry. That's how, like in his eye, I was like, "Yo,
I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, that was definitely." But this is the thing, though. You know why he was so shocked though when he got knocked down that first time? Because he never really went against. Well, it's like a hypothetical, rhetorical question. I mean,
okay.
I'm just saying. Essentially, he's obviously never went against as hard of a puncher as Terence Crawford, but he never had somebody push him to that limit. And remember, we was talking about level of competition. Now, while Terence Crawford's opponents might not have as big of names, they definitely made Crawford work more, because how many people went into a fight with Terence Crawford and got dropped in the first 2 rounds? I can only think of one dude off the top of my head that got dropped in the first 2 rounds, because it's a disrespect to all those fighters that fought Terence Crawford. To say that Errol Spence just automatically
boxers. Yeah, they boxed.
But it's like how does because didn't Jose Benavidez like survive and do a lot better with one leg than Errol did?
He literally
like that's what I'm saying. How the hell does that happen?
Yeah,
but Jose Benavidez also had a longer reach. Terence got a long. If you look at his arms, he's got a long reach. He's got
old dude. I mean, well, then again, Jose Benavidez didn't look that good. I mean, but the point that I'm making anyway is that there is absolutely no way that any credit can be taken away from Terence Crawford ever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Terence Crawford automatically will be in contention for like the GOAT of this. So when he says this is the Terence Crawford era, he's not lying anymore. When he said that before, I was like, not yet. But now he's not lying. You know why? Because let's say if Charlo gets past Canelo, you know for a fact, if the rematch is not really on the table, Charlo is going to want that work, especially with the back and forth that they had during the fight. Now, if Terence Crawford were, which I hope he doesn't, but let's say if he were to beat Charlo, who is the undisputed champion, has all the belts at 154, this man is Floyd level. I don't care what anybody says. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Because that is something that Floyd didn't do. Not at 147 and not at 154.
Oh, that's another thing. I be telling people that because a lot of people just think that Mayweather could beat Terence Crawford with the era that he had. But his era, that's what I'm saying. His era wasn't really that great compared to Terence Crawford. Because you see that Manny Pacquiao lost to Ugas, and Ugas lost to Spence. And I understand Manny Pacquiao was on the end of his career, but he was doing the same stuff he did.
He always does.
To get his career.
That he did to beat Keith Thurman.
Like he might have been a bit slower, but yeah, he literally dropped Keith Thurman, beat Keith Thurman. Said I can't give him any excuse for age or nothing like that because he was still doing that. And with that being said, you could see the levels of how he couldn't beat Ugas. And I mean, he technically never fought Spence, so we can't say for certain who would have won out that fight. But especially with the way Spence chin was looking in the Crawford fight, I don't know how that Manny fight would have went really. But with that being said, though, you could just see the levels, and I think that Terence Crawford's era is on a higher level than what the Mayweather era was, and also just the way he boxed. Because Mayweather got that same problem that Spence has, the no head movement. Like he'll pull back and try and pull kind of you back on the line, but if he does that against Terence Crawford, all Terence Crawford got to do is throw a 1-2. So when Mayweather pulling back, he's just gonna run into the 2. Like that's literally it, type stuff.
Yeah. But we talking about something hypothetical.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
hypotheticals.
But with that being said, it's like this definitely is the Terence Crawford.
Oh yeah, because people
Jamal
are naturally
Charlo,
going to want to make comparisons. People do that shit all the time, you know, in sports in general. But there's
only person that's going to give Terence a good fight is Boots. Boots is the next in line.
Oh yeah,
we'll see what happens if Terence Crawford wants to take that fight, which I think he should. And I always thought that would have been, you know, a great, you know, interesting matchup because you know, Boots is a switch hitter, yeah, and he's really good. He could do the same type of thing. Like they're the same type of fighter, in my opinion. Stylistically, they're very close together. So I would love to see Boots get that opportunity. But the thing is, fuck all that.
I think that would have made a more exciting fight with Boots.
I don't want to see Errol Spence go out like that.
Boots is bigger than Terence Crawford, and I don't know if he hits. I don't know if he hits harder than Terence Crawford.
Yeah,
they probably about the same.
I ain't gonna say all. I don't know all that.
Yeah, they probably.
It'd be a great fight. It'd be a great fight. But I have Terence Crawford winning on experience alone. On experience and superior skills, because Terence Crawford is older, he's more experienced. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's stronger. Boots is what 24, 25 years old, or maybe 26.
Yeah,
Boots will be next in line.
So he's not even. Boots is not even in his prime yet. Yeah, Boots can look.
I would say
against these other guys, but you put him in there with an evolved version of him of himself. There's no comparison. Yeah. Remember what I said, guys. I said in these fights, these 50-50 fights or alleged 50-50 fights, the separation always shows. I said that. I saw the separation in round 2 last night. The separation is going to show between Crawford and Boots eventually. So Boots can be flashy the same way that Terence Crawford is, but the separation is going to show. Because it's hard.
Sometimes in the ring, he do be trying to pivot on his front. He be trying to look pretty in the ring, Boots in this. But
yeah, he did his last fight, yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, though, he would definitely give Terence Crawford a run for his money. I think if Terence Crawford come in on the wrong night, and isn't like 80% or 90% of what he can be, Boots could definitely take the fight from him, most definitely.
I don't think Terence is going to fight for another year or so because he's going to laugh. He's going to laugh.
Really this what I was saying.
Doing interviews and other things. He's going to be in rap
Terence
videos.
Crawford right now, all Terence Crawford, if I was personally him, if I was in his position, I'm retiring. I'm putting the belts up because this man is 40-0. He's been undisputed twice. He's the only dude to do that in this era. Beat 2-time undisputed champion.
He wants to beat Floyd's record.
Nah, I don't think. I think
I wouldn't even care about
he said he doesn't care. Yeah, he said he doesn't care about that.
Yeah, because
he said he doesn't care.
Like Terence
he's already solidified it now. Though he definitely made the history. He
understands that.
No matter whether it's a rematch or not, he already made history. He did it
exactly. Yeah, he doesn't have to do that. Like Floyd is Floyd.
He doesn't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like they understand their level of competition.
I think he will retire after this. Because
here's my thing.
He got the bag. This bag is probably the biggest bag he got. This is the bag. And he got the belt. What more do you need?
That's what I was saying yesterday.
What more does he have to prove?
Here's my thing, though.
Like he don't got nothing else to prove.
Right. He would not be in this position right now, and we would not be able to say the things that we were saying about him if it wasn't for Errol giving him that opportunity. Errol Spence didn't have to take his fight. Errol Spence could have just fought, Errol could have fought Keith Thurman and then just moved up to 154 and said the hell with Terence Crawford. But he gave Terence Crawford that opportunity. I think Terence Crawford will give Errol Spence that opportunity to at least get that run back. But Errol needs to 100% capitalize on that shit. Because if I was him, I'm eating, sleeping, breathing, shitting Terence Crawford until we get in that ring. And Terence Crawford,
I get that. Yeah, it makes you more hungry when you lose. He got humbled.
Exactly.
He got humbled.
Yeah. And I really hope Errol can find that within himself because I know it's there because that's what got him to this point.
I think it's gonna be time, bro. It's gonna be a while. That's why I say I'm not.
But the inactivity. That's why I said December.
That's why I didn't like that the fight took so long to make. Because let's say that they fought like 5 years ago and the same thing happened, right? At least now they're kind of in a point in time in their life where they're not like in their 30s, so they're not gonna have to really worry too much about limited time. At least not as much limited time in boxing, because now they both in their 30s, and it's like they only got so much time. Like Errol Spence will really have to rush now. He can't. Because while we saying he needs time and stuff like that, it's like if he takes like 3 years off, he gonna be 35, I think, or 36.
I don't think it's gonna. That's why I say it's not gonna be
Terence Crawford days because Terence Crawford is about to turn 36
gonna go on.
That's what I'm saying.
You're not gonna get that sizzle like we got now.
You're not
gonna get
exactly. So that's why I said it's necessary for him to fight in December or January while the pot is hot. While you're still,
I don't
fresh.
know.
I
don't think it's gonna happen.
Because if he has his way, take 2-3 weeks off and then get back into a pre-camp camp. That's it, and then fight again.
I even think
because it's better. But you guys know it's better to stay active than inactive. Honestly, because Terence Crawford for Avanesian, at least he had an interim fight before this.
Oh yeah,
Errol didn't fight since last year in April, so he hasn't been on that big stage fighting at that level since last year. Terence Crawford,
but what we want and the punishment that he took. I mean, yo, bro.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying yesterday too. I was like, that was a dangerous fight this one time because I want to just like, I'm not talking about Charles specifically, but there's a lot of casual Errol Spence fans out there that would just say slander Terence Crawford, like crazily disrespect his career and all that. And I would be like, I just want to see Errol Spence lose this one time. And after that, I don't really want to see him try and hurt himself again. Like, because Terence Crawford is always a dangerous fight. I was saying this all the time. This man hits hard. And in boxing, you could literally die. Like, it's not a joke. And with Spence just going into another fight, though, like, because it's obvious what happened last night. Like, none of us are blind, obviously, or none of us are like to the point where we didn't see the fight, obviously. So, with that being said, it's like we don't want Errol Spence to go through that same thing again. And
all right, possibly, okay. So then, when do you think? So, if not December, January, when do you think would be wise for him to come back into the ring?
I think he gonna need,
because we're in July, mind you. We're in August right now.
That's what I'm saying. So I think he gonna need at minimum like a year and a half. There's no way.
But that's why I said that's not how rematch clauses work. That's what I'm saying.
Wait,
if you have a rematch clause in your contract, then that
Terence said he wasn't taking a rematch. Though,
but that's like, all right. So when Kambosos lost to Devin Haney, he had a rematch clause. Yeah. Them niggas fought later that year, so they fought. I think in June, and then they fought again in October. That's how rematch clauses work. So the turnaround time is fast.
Wait, didn't Triple G and Canelo have like a 3-fight clause, if I'm not mistaken? Or I think a rematch clause off the second fight. And Canelo didn't fight Triple G till that man turned 40 for his third fight. I'm pretty sure,
they
right?
had then it wasn't a 3-fight deal then, if that's the case. So if Triple G and Canelo fought people in between that third fight, then it wasn't a 3-fight deal between those two exclusively. You see what I'm saying? Because then one party or the other can benefit from those interim fights.
This is why I don't see it's going to happen, because people keep thinking because it's contractually, it can be amended. It can be, Terence can say, you know what? I already proved what I did.
Literally.
And remember, he was gonna leave boxing when they said he made the Hall of Fame, right? So
because that's another thing.
And now he's legitimately in the Hall of Fame. All the naysayers, all he's got to do is say, y'all can say what you want. I beat him. He can say
this is one thing,
and no one can dispute that. No one can take that away from him. No one, not even me, will dispute that.
I'm good.
One thing I will say about Crawford, like legacy up to now, one thing he said actually was pretty interesting to me was that he said, whether or not y'all think I'm the number one pound for pound with or without be fighting Spence, I feel that I'm the number one pound for pound. He says, I don't really need to fight Spence in order to prove that, because not only was he already considered number one pound for pound, but with that being said, Spence was the one who really needed to prove that he was kind of in that category of where Terence Crawford was lying, because people, like, there was some people that obviously had Spence number one pound for pound. But with that being said, the majority of the people were saying that it was Crawford. And even though people say that Crawford ain't fight nobody really, it's like Crawford's career really, he had more done than what Spence, because Spence was never undisputed before, right? Or
no, because Spence 147 was his only weight class. See, Terrence, didn't Terrence come from like 130 and 135 before he was? He came from
I think he came from 140, right?
So,
I think he came
from
that's
what I'm saying.
Junior lightweight, and he was undisputed though.
Yeah, Errol started his career at 147. My thing is this: whether or not a rematch happens is really contingent on what the two of them decide to do next. Errol has been talking about 154 for a very long time. So, and he wants the rematch at his new weight class. And again, I guess that's fine.
Terrence, I don't really like that.
I don't like it either. You know what I'm saying? Because
like I don't like Errol
if Terrence beats him again. Because I think, like you said, if Errol feels that he'd be stronger at 154, then what do you think Terrence would be at 154?
That's what I'm saying.
The same benefits that Errol thinks he's gonna get, Terrence is gonna get that too. And the thing is,
not just even applying to Terence Crawford. I think because like I was saying yesterday, at 154, objectively speaking, right, without my feelings involved, people hit harder up there. And Errol Spence, like I said, I'm not gonna call him the weight bully, but his structure was bigger than most people in 147, which is why he could get away with things like a head movement. If you're going up in weight and you're going against dudes that can hit harder, you're gonna be looking for most of the time the same way that Terence Crawford was shooting you last night. Because like we both said, Terence Crawford not even that big. He like 160 at walk around, and he really meant to be fighting around like Junior.
So in real life, he would look really short. Like if I met Terence Crawford tomorrow, he would look really small.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's not even a big dude. And Errol Spence over here getting dropped and rocked. So I'm like, bro,
because it's all relative. I'm 6'4", so Terence Crawford is a little guy compared to me in terms of height, but Errol is only 5'9", so them niggas is still the same, size.
Yeah, like Errol, my height, like literally, like what?
Terence's reach. If you watch Terence reach, man,
yeah, 70.
He do have the long arms.
He was swinging for the bleachers.
But at the Donkey Kong arms, I ain't gonna lie, he do have them long arms. But with
he has 70 reach.
And that's another thing. Spence trying to fight like he always try to fight like an outboxer or fight like he's the one. And I'm not gonna say you don't inside fight at all, right? Because actually speaking, he's more considered of an inside fighter. But when
and he tried to get on the inside last night and it didn't work.
Yeah. Every time he tried to get on the inside, Terence Crawford just literally pulled back. Exactly, blocking body shot. Because
he saw the punch coming.
Because another thing, when I was saying that he would sit on the line, or Terence Crawford wouldn't sit on the line, right? There was sometimes in a fight, this man Terence Crawford, he was like, man, fuck off. He was like, let me just joke around real quick. This man would literally sit on the line with Errol Spence, let him throw body shots at him, and then throw a 2-3 real fast and hurt. I'm like, bro, because I didn't even see that first because I was at a party and I was like we was watching the fight on like a phone and stuff, so it was hard to see, and also music was blasting loud. So these things, so these punches that Terence Crawford was landing on Spence in the inside, I couldn't really see him that well, so I didn't know how badly he was hurting Spence. Obviously, until I started seeing him get dropped a bit. But in the replay that I watched when I got home, I saw exactly like Errol Spence was leaning on Terence Crawford's body, like he'll try and do with multiple opponents. And Terence Crawford was like, all right, I'm gonna stay on the line with you. What I inside work at. And then as soon as Spence throws a punch, I'm seeing Terence Crawford throw a 2-3. I'm seeing
punch
Spence
within the punch.
Just snap back.
I'm like, within the punch. Fuck?
Remember that second knockdown at the end of round 7 where Errol Spence kind of just looked like he fell, and you saw Terence Crawford throw that uppercut. Even when Terence Crawford hit Spence with that uppercut, Spence still hit him with a rear hand. Like he hit Crawford clean, but ain't even really affect Crawford.
Nah, it didn't, because just the power it just seemed like it just wasn't there. Like I don't know if y'all ever seen it. I don't know if y'all ever seen Hercules, but it's like at the end of the fucking movie, Hercules makes a fucking deal with Hades, and then he loses all of his fucking strength and stuff like that. It seemed like that's what happened to Errol. Like it's like he went into that shit with like no strength whatsoever.
Hey D, for a moment there though, did you think after he got knocked down? Because for a moment there, I was like, oh shit, it's on now, right? I was like, get in strong. Nope, get in. I was trying to play the Rocky music.
Yeah, because my thing was, when he got knocked down the first time, it was early. It was only the round 2, so I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe he'll come back. Yeah, I was like, maybe he'll use this and come back. And then that's when he tried. Stronger. That's when he was trying to really press the action, and it didn't work. That was the adjustment that he made. But he shouldn't have waited for a knockdown to try to have an adjustment like that. and to be calculated. Because remember,
that's another thing.
That recklessness is what got Ryan Garcia, knocked down, is because he was trying to press the action. And then it's in the midst of the action or the pressure that he was trying to apply, he was getting clipped. Errol Spence got stripped and clipped in front of everybody.
And I'm glad you brought up Ryan Garcia as an example, because that's a perfect example. Because remember when I said that Errol Spence uses the second phase of boxing, which is a punch, as like the first phase of contact. Ryan Garcia does the same thing. He throws the same left hook and compromises his head. That's how Tank caught him with the pull counter.
Open. Yeah, if you're gonna,
that's what I'm saying, and that's why feints and probes are very important to set up your. Terence Crawford does that, and like I said,
it hurts so bad. Oh, it was painful. I was in here just like I was biting my pillow. I was like, oh, what is going on?
Yes, when you get hit with something, when you're throwing something, you're leaving yourself open to get hit with something, and Errol did a lot of that.
For a moment too, did you have, like, before the fight, right? I know we can try to picture how the fight's gonna go, but in my head, I pictured the same thing too. Like, what if Terence catches him like he did Kell Brook? And he did.
Multiple times. And Errol was walking right into it. Errol walking right into a lot of those shots.
I was quote myself perfectly in like the last podcast. I remember we were talking about predictions, and I was like, I think it could go a couple of ways, but I was like, if Terence Crawford catches Errol Spence out of position early, I can honestly see Errol Spence get dropped early.
And I've seen Errol take punches, and I was like, that didn't second round? Wait a minute. Right now, LeVar, did you bet money on the fight?
I made I would say I did like 4 bets, but it was kind of like amateur bets, because it was like with dudes online, we weren't really locked into no bet, so they can obviously not pay if they don't really want to. So I don't know.
You know? Let's just say if Errol would have won the fight, and I put like $10 for the 10th round, TK or a knockout, I would have won $1,000.
Yeah,
$10. Right, and I said something in my mind was saying bet on both.
That low key would have been crazy. I never thought of that before, to bet on both fighters.
Yo, people, if you bet 100, you could have came off with, I think, what, $6,000 or something like that.
Bet $100.
Because I know Errol Spence was definitely on the plus side. So if you bet Errol Spence, you was gonna get more money in return. Because most people thought that Crawford was gonna win. For the most part, it was very close. There was like plus 150 for Spence, minus 150 for Crawford. So it was very close. But people would have got more profit if they bet Spence, especially by knockout. Because I don't think a lot of people thought
people were betting clean knockout. They were betting some like 10. I'm talking about the big money players.
Yeah,
some of these guys was betting racks. Man.
I ain't gonna lie. They had this one dude on YouTube talking about he wanted to bet $15,000 that Spence was gonna win. The only reason I bet him is because obviously I don't got that kind of money. But if I had $15,000, I would have locked in that bet. I'm gonna be honest, because like I said, this man, and I wonder what he gonna say on YouTube later today. Because he just talked about $15,000. I don't even want to bring him up no more. That boy's wilder.
But again, I just think the next 5-6 months in terms of Errol Spence is going to be very interesting, because now again he's in another phase of his career, and it's unfortunate that he's going into this phase after taking the biggest L of his entire life. And I still have faith in him in a sense that he can go back to the drawing board, do everything different if he actually wants to take the rematch. Because again, his mentality is probably going to be different. Maybe he doesn't feel the way that I feel, and he's just going to move up to 154, just keep fighting, keep making money, and then eventually retire. He's not going to go to 160 because he's already 33.
This was the best underdog. This was the best underdog movie, man. This was truly a good movie.
Or like I said, it really could be that way, and Errol will have a Rocky moment, because basically that was like a Rocky for Ivan Drago, freaking Apollo Creed beatdown. Real shit.
Oh yeah,
real shit.
It was real shit. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I was thinking the same thing last night.
that was a Rocky beatdown.
Remember the way Drago was hitting him and he went to the ground?
Basically
the same thing. Kind of like a movie or a film almost.
But just like we see in those movies, he can use that to better himself. He can focus on his mistakes and then use that to make him a better person. And that to me will be truly exciting to see Errol say, you know what? I understand what I did wrong. and I know what I can do right, and I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah.
And I'm the fucking rematch at 140.
Just do me a favor, Mr. D.
What'd you say?
Mr. DJ, just do me a favor, Mr. DJ. Don't get locked in with all the nonsense the Crawford fans gonna bring. Just say, yeah, just you won. Okay, cool.
Yeah. You gotta.
What did I? Yeah, but, all right.
Don't
But
get locked in. I know
what
how
did
you go,
LeVar,
D.
what did I say
know
to
how
you?
You get down.
No, but LeVar, what, I mean, because LeVar is really the closest thing that I like, the only Crawford fan that I know personally at this point. Now, what did I say when you were texting my phone? What did I say? I didn't say anything.
I think you were basically
when we talked last night, we talked for like 3 hours. And I said,
LeVar has good composure though. He ain't going in like, he says it in a calm way that hurts.
I was like, I said, yo, I wasn't like, oh, Crawford's a bitch ass nigga.
And we we give you your props, LeVar, if you win. So
I told him, I said, yo, you're right.
Man.
I was like, yo, you're right. I said, you got it. That was your boy. You know what I'm saying? And then all his criticisms of Errol, I accepted it because it was facts. I know how to take my emotions out of the facts, because what's more important is facts, not feelings. So what are the facts of the situation? The facts were Errol Spence underestimated Terence Crawford. He was underprepared, and then again, he did nothing right, and he didn't give us.
That's an excuse. That's an excuse. There's no excuse.
No, it's not. No. These aren't excuses. These are facts.
That's an excuse to say. Listen, when you train for something to win and you lose,
an excuse. An excuse is if I'm excusing his behavior or his performance. I'm not excusing anything. In boxing, if I spar you and I whoop your ass, the fact is I'm better than you. The fact is, you underestimated me. That doesn't mean I was
underprepared. It just means you beat me you just beat me. That's it.
But I can give you reasons behind. But I can give you reasons behind the facts. The facts is he had no adjustments. If you don't have any adjustments, if you fighting me, that means you didn't prepare, because the adjustments are the result of planning. Bomac said, I beat Derrick James because he didn't have a plan. That's why he lost. That's what I'm saying. LeVar, is that an excuse? Am I excusing? Am I making excuses for Errol Spence by saying he was underprepared?
You ain't listening to what I'm saying. You ain't listening to what I'm saying. I ain't saying you are making excuses. We don't know on the real. We don't know he's underprepared. The way he makes adjustments is his way he punches through it. He doesn't move in that type of way like a Bud. Bud's adjustments could be the way he shifts, the way he switches stances. Errol's adjustments is, and I've seen him in his fights when his coach says, when he fought Ugas, punch him in the shoulders, punch him here.
All right.
But when Bud took him out of that, see, that's what I'm saying.
All right. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of what adjustments are in boxing. All right. So the first time I sparred one of my friends, he's shorter and he's strong. The first round, he was pressing the action and stuff like that. So he was really coming at me. So if I played your video, you see what I'm talking about. So then the next round, the adjustment that I made was every time I shot the jab and then he would come forward with a 1-2, because that was the same combination he kept throwing over and over and over again. I would step back and I would use my footwork. That was the adjustment that I made. He was unable to make any adjustments after that. That's what adjustments are. That was the result.
I know that was the result.
That was the result of planning.
To the head.
That's the result of planning. That's what I'm saying. So if I see round one went a certain way, I make an adjustment so the result of round two will go differently. Errol didn't make any adjustments whatsoever outside of trying to get on the inside after he got knocked down. That's what I'm saying. Those aren't. Hold on. Those are not excuses. Those are just the facts. That's just boxing.
But you're saying I'm not making it. That's not an excuse. He didn't make adjustments. He tried to make adjustments.
But trying to do something and doing it is two completely different things. He didn't do it. So if I try to do something, but ultimately I didn't do it, that means I didn't do it.
But that's the thing. I
can say I tried, but did you do it? You didn't do it. So I'm saying, as an Errol Spence fan, that he was underprepared. He underestimated Terence Crawford, and he didn't make any adjustments. Everybody will say that. Right or wrong. So let's say if I keep getting clipped with the jab, you say Errol Spence doesn't move his head. If he were to start moving his head and move around the ring, let's say round 4 or 5, is that not an adjustment?
Do you know how hard it is to make an adjustment when your brain
do it?
But what I'm saying is, hold on for 1 second. What I'm saying is, I can't say he didn't make an adjustment, but the way Bud hit him in his head, your mind you can't make that adjustment. That's what I'm saying. It's not that saying he didn't try to make adjustments. The way Bud hit him, he was already like he had to go. He was surviving. That's what it was. You can make all the adjustments you want. Bud was beating his ass to the point where whatever adjustment he could make or tried to make. I'm saying, because I heard what his coach said, do this and do that, but he was beat up so bad he couldn't make any adjustments. That's what I'm saying.
Main word. That's the main word I'm focused on.
That's all I'm saying. It's not that I'm not saying that he didn't make adjustments or didn't try.
But I'm saying,
but the way Bud was hitting him, he couldn't make an adjustment.
But I'm saying he didn't make adjustments. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't see him making any adjustments. That's what I'm saying. So he didn't. He didn't do anything substantial that would warrant the results changing. So that's why every single round looked exactly the same, because he didn't do anything different. Errol Spence did, and I said this before 50 times. Errol just went in the ring and he said, "I'm just going to do me. I'm going to do what I've always done," and it didn't work.
Yeah, he couldn't make adjustments.
And in boxing, it doesn't work like that. Did I not say in the podcast that this is going to be a fight of adjustments? Who's ever, so it's like, I make an adjustment, he makes an adjustment. Whoever comes out on top is the one who's going to win. Terence Crawford didn't really have to do much. What was their adjustment to their, regular fighting style? Let's take away his jab. That's what they did.
Yeah.
On the inside during clinches, let me make sure I constantly have the positional advantage. That's what he did. Those are the adjustments that he did after round one. So they already planned
that type of an adjustment fighter because the way he wins, that's all I'm saying, man.
Right.
And this is the thing.
All I'm saying is because the way he wins is to come hit you here, hit you there.
Yeah,
and that's his adjustments. And all the sting was taken out of it.
No, that's his skill set. That's his skill set. Yeah, that's his skill set. You know what I'm saying? But adjustments is strategy. Like, all right, what can I do to make sure that this round goes better than the last one? Say that again.
And this the thing. This is another thing.
Went out the window. If he did have a plan,
I don't. Yeah, but from the looks of it, to me, to Bomac, and to a lot of other people, they did not have a plan.
Yep, no plan.
Because that fight, like you said earlier, it did not go at all the way you saw it in your head yesterday morning. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So if I just think I can spar you and think, oh, I'm just gonna do, what I do best, and not knowing that, you, on the other hand, were watching me and said, okay, this is what Dimitri does well, and this is what he doesn't do well. So I'm going to formulate a plan that, is surrounded by those two different things. Terence Crawford did that. They didn't even say what they tried to do. They didn't even say what they tried. Have you seen boxing matches
when the coach is in the corner, the trainer's in the corner, and he tells him to do something, but his brain just won't accept it. He just
tell me something, because I didn't hear anything. Maybe because it was too loud. But can one of y'all tell me something that Derrick James told Errol to do? Because I didn't hear that.
He told him to move. That's exactly my point. He told him to move his head. He told him because he said exactly what LeVar said.
That's not real instruction. That's not real instruction.
Wait. Did Derrick James really tell him to move his head?
Let me finish my thoughts. He said move his head, but you're not. He said you're not swinging where you're trying to get to him. You got to keep jabbing to get closer. You're swinging too far back.
Well, he was setting Errol Spence up for failure with that. And I want to say this very important part or this very important point about Errol Spence and his lack of adjustments. When you're adjusting, you're using some of the skill sets that you already have, that you already planned for. And obviously, we're not gonna say that they came in with a proper plan. But with that being said, the adjustments that Errol Spence could have made against Terence Crawford were things that he were never taught by Derrick James. That's the number one reason why people were telling everybody, most of the Crawford fans and by Spence out there were telling people that Spence won't be able to adjust to Crawford because he doesn't have those things in his tool set to begin with. You can move your head you could try and move your head all you want, but if you don't understand the system of how it works, like you transitioning your way to your back foot, getting off the line, then coming back to the line. Spence doesn't understand how that works. He doesn't understand it from a scientific
How do we know that? How do you know that?
He can't just
because he came in there and done what he's always done.
But you're forgetting we're forgetting one main fact. You're forgetting one main fact. Once you get hit and you're dazed, you can say, do this and make the adjustment to your skill set. You ain't got no more skill set once your head is just being bashed in.
That's
Yeah,
all I'm
but you
saying.
still have a plan though. So
But
things,
that's what I'm
things,
saying.
will, things,
All the
things
plan
are
goes
going to
out
happen.
the
Things will
window
happen in the
when you're
ring. But if you have a
dizzy.
plan that you can rely on, that's what will get you through those moments where you get
How do
hurt.
we
Errol
know?
didn't have that though.
How do we
Because that's what
know?
we. But
Errol
that
Spence.
because so watch the fight again. Then you'll see how we know. Because
Yeah,
that's what
this
we
what I'm
saw.
saying. This what I'm
No,
saying.
That
no,
was
no.
the
This what I'm
result.
saying.
That was
You're
the
still
fight.
not
That's what
listening.
it went.
Have you ever been punched in the face and got dazed?
I've never been punched in.
Well, I have.
I've
been in
never
many
been
street
punched in the
fights.
face
What I'm
and
trying to
gotten
tell you is,
dazed. But
you
again,
wanna know
it's
what my
called
adjustment was?
being
I picked up a
but it's called
bottle
things
and I busted
happening
him upside
and
his
feel
head.
comfortable. When
That
you're in the
was my
ring,
adjustment.
anything can happen in the ring. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But if you
But
got
what
a
I'm
game
telling
plan
you,
and you're
sister-
going back to your corner and you got your coach that's giving you instruction and then you already have a game plan, you see what I'm saying? You have a plan
The
that you
game,
can
it
fall
doesn't
back
matter
on.
what
You
your game
can get
plan
hurt,
is.
that's
It's all
fine. But
gone.
there's a lot of
This
fighters
is the
that have
thing,
gotten
though.
hurt before and came back. Hasn't
This the
Terence
thing.
Crawford gotten hurt? And
Yeah, he
does
got
that
hurt.
mean because he
got
got hurt, he has to forego
We're
his
talking
whole
about
entire
Terence
plan?
Crawford. We're talking about Errol Spence. Errol
But
Spence ain't that fight.
that's the point that
But
I'm making
look,
though.
this is the thing. It's
Just
possible to
because you
get
get hurt in the
and
ring
still make
does not
adjustments.
mean that your plan all of a sudden goes out the window. We've seen
Yeah.
fighters get hurt before,
But
and
we're
we've seen
talking
fighters come
like
back after
we're
that.
talking
You
like
know
we're
why?
in the
Because they
ring.
had a plan.
But you're talking like we're in the ring. None of us were in that ring. All I'm saying is, I'm not knocking what you're saying. What I'm saying is, you could still have an adjustment plan, and his corner, EJ's corner was like, okay, do this and do that. But if you saw it in his eyes, it was all gone. He was just out there surviving. He was fighting. He was fighting
let's
instinct and
be honest
pride.
about the first knockdown. The first knockdown was a flash knockdown. It's not
That's
like
what I'm saying. Yeah.
like the first knockdown, because this is the thing also.
No,
It's
it took him a
possible
while
that-
to get up. It took him a
Well,
second to
it's
get
because
up. He didn't pop right up.
Like it was stunning because he never been knocked down before.
Right,
not from
right.
what we
So that's
know.
all I'm saying.
And
I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. All I'm saying is once you get hit in the head, when someone's talking to you, you can hear the plan. But
yeah,
when you're out there with
it's
that
very hard to
person,
process it.
it's
And
that's what I'm
formulate
saying.
it.
You can't he couldn't formulate that adjustment because Terence was still there coming with that jab and
But
tagging.
that's the thing. I would say to a certain extent, he was trying to formulate something different, but it just, the fact is, nothing he did, like I said from the beginning, was going to work against Terence, because this is the thing. Let's talk about some adjustments he tried to make. So first off, when his jab got taken away, after that, he started to try and force his way on the inside and try and lean in like he did against Ugas. And every time he did that, he would do it with his hands down, first of all, which is one thing I talked about. That he keeps his hands pretty low, which is terrible against a hard puncher like Crawford. So every time he would lean in and Crawford would just take a step back, you could see how wide Errol Spence throws his punches to just miss and almost fall off balance. Because, like I said, remember what I said? This is the most important thing. He fights punching bags, or he fights like he's punching a punching bag. Imagine if you throw a punch at a punching bag and then you just miss it. You almost fall off balance because, you kind of miss. That's what I'm saying. Then not only that, but
with that left, you can see
exactly.
it just
And it's because Terence Crawford was always in motion. Terence Crawford would be one place at one time, and then he could just pull right off the line as soon as he see Errol Spence weight coming forward. As soon as he see it coming forward, just pull off the line. Errol Spence looked like he about to fall down.
He executed it beautifully. He executed it beautifully, man. It was masterful for what he did. And he did. He made Errol look very basic. He did.
And like I said, Errol Spence tried. He tried as hard as he could to make these adjustments, but nothing that he did lined up to what Terence Crawford did. And the things that he really needs to work on the most, if he wants to even have a chance against Terence Crawford, first of all, like I said, move your head. Second of all, keep your hands higher, longer in the sequences. Don't just put your hands up for the first punch and then try and run off the line with your hands down.
And you're right,
that's not gonna work.
Terence had a better plan. I see it too. Because
that's what I'm saying.
They had a better game plan. Because the way Terence backed up when he knocked him down with that right, did you see Terrence's mouth go boom like that?
Oh yeah.
I said, oh shit.
He does that a lot when he know he got to do his hurt. He'll kind of open his mouth, get a little excited expression when he know he got to do his hurt. But with Errol Spence,
that's why I say that I could see he might have had a plan, and he might have tried to make an adjustment, but he just couldn't. That's all I'm saying.
And like I said, I'm not gonna put that all on Errol Spence, because he did everything he was taught. Everything that he was taught to do in the ring, he was trying to do that. but it just didn't work because Derrick James did not teach him what he needed to know in order to properly go against Terence Crawford.
We don't know that. That's what I'm saying. We don't know.
We do because we saw the fight. We do
but
because every time we saw,
what I'm saying. We don't know what their plan was. I'm just saying it couldn't be executed because he was getting punched in the face.
But
no,
this
no,
I'm
not
talking about Errol Spence.
When okay, because this is what I'm all right. Because
that's all.
You don't have to be in the ring to see that somebody did not have a plan. That's the point that I'm making, and I think that's what LeVar was trying to say. You could tell when somebody has a plan, and then you can tell when somebody doesn't have a plan. And that's not even just in boxing. That's just, in life in general. Errol looked very sloppy after the second round because I'm not sure, where the conversation went, after I said that, but that's just the point that I'm making, because
this another thing, just to add on. Oh, well, I'm gonna let you finish then.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying because I saw y'all was starting to disagree, but I'm just chiming in just to say, we don't have to be there. It's just obvious. And mind trust me. If there was anything that I could say, if there's anything that I could say to defend Errol Spence, if I could, I would. But after that fight, there's literally nothing that happened that I could go off that I could at least say, well, maybe Errol tried to do this to some success. Maybe he tried to do that. He didn't really try to do much other than what he did, which is why I said earlier that he was not prepared. He wasn't prepared to switch dimensions. Remember last night I said Terence Crawford has multiple dimensions. He's like a 4-dimensional fighter. And then you said, Errol's fights like everybody's two-dimensional. Two-dimensional. Errol wasn't prepared to do something different. Errol wasn't prepared to switch it up, to switch gears. Errol, and the things I've seen Errol do it before, but for whatever reason, he didn't do it last night because he just wasn't expecting Terence Crawford to be at that super high apex fucking level. And again, Terence Crawford fucking took away his jab. And then honestly, what's funny? I'm like, damn, I never thought of that. When they said, they were like, oh, all we had to do is take away his jab. And I'm like, damn, well, why didn't anybody else think of that shit? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Remember,
I was like, yo, why didn't anybody else think of that shit?
That's the thing. That's the thing. Remember,
and then look at all the success that they had. So really, I don't. It hurts me to say.
Wait. Now you got me
all they have to do. Take away his jab. Take away his jab.
But Errol, because Errol hits him so hard. You know what I'm saying? But
that's what I'm saying. And it pains me to say this, but it's like what LeVar said, like, yo, there are fighters that are bigger at 154 that have a lot of power and shit like that. Now, it pains me to say it, but Terence Crawford kind of exposed Errol Spence. And this is why it's like, I understand where you guys are coming from. You're like, yo, like he needs more time for a rematch, or he shouldn't do it in December or January because like for who the type of fighter he has to be moving forward. Yeah, you're right. Maybe 4 or 5 months might not be, enough time. I don't know, but Errol Spence definitely, like how basic he can be or how basic he was, he got exposed last night. And I really hope
this the thing.
That shit changes because he's going to need more than just let me work behind my jab and set up body punch behind my jab. You're going to need way more than that.
That's what Terence said too. We took away his jab and we knew what was coming.
Took away his jab. What he had after that. Like after he took away Errol Spence's jab, Errol Spence was just reaching for every punch to try and get on the inside.
He felt uncomfortable because he's not used to that. Like you said, LeVar, like he's always used to guys staying right in front of him. Ugas, the reason why Ugas got flipped up like that was because he stood there with a high guard the whole entire time and he didn't move. And it was the uppercuts that really got Ugas's eye, whereas Terence Crawford moved the entire time. Like, if anything, honestly, like if I watched the fight again, which I don't want to, but let's say if I did, I would focus on Terence Crawford the whole entire time. So I would just look at his feet and everything that he did well, and I would never look at Errol's face. I would just never look at his face. I would look at Errol's face the whole entire time. I don't want to go through that again.
Terence, before I looked at after that fight, I looked at Terence. I was like, oh shit, okay. I seen what Terence was doing. Mm-hmm. He was switching up his hand. He was switching up his guard. He was moving. Yeah. He was moving to the left, to the right, and he just watched Errol. He just watched.
What's actually pretty funny is Errol Spence, for as bad as the fight looked, obviously, he had decent success with landing the punches on Terence Crawford, but not
his left
with getting off the line. Yeah,
his left. Yeah, he landed his left a couple of times. Yeah,
Terence was crispy like I was saying. He was crispy, boy.
Yeah, like I was saying, earlier. Yeah, basically then. Like I was saying was that obviously Terence Crawford has flaws, and his main flaws, one of the main flaws he has, like I said, is just throwing rear hand hooks or just throwing hooks in general. Rounded punches, he don't react well to them. He kind of reacts like Tank does to him. So he just put his head straight back and kind of get caught on chin sometimes. That's how Kavaliasis dropped him, but it's Ruda slip. So, but with that being said, Errol Spence actually hit him with that same rounded punch. But Errol Spence, that was the same sequence that Errol Spence got knocked down in, because Terence Crawford also met him with an uppercut, because, like I said, after Errol Spence throws his punch, he's not moving his head out that position. So all Terence Crawford do was just throw a punch with him. Now, the thing that Errol Spence has to work on is, first of all, throwing those hooks. Like if he doesn't want to feint and probe, right? Because if he starts to feint and probe, that will be his best shot at opening up Terence Crawford, because that's the first phase of boxing. It's not even just exposing the weakness that Terence Crawford has; it's using boxes as it at its finest, because you're using your feint and probes to manipulate and move around your opponent and then make your attack, because you know you're safe now. You don't just throw a punch and then throw into an unsafe zone. You have to make sure you know what position your opponent is going to be in first before you make that attack.
Yeah, he just has to evolve, and Derrick James can't do that by himself, because if he goes into, like, let's say a rematch camp with only Derrick James, then he's only going to get but so much improvements, if anything at all, because he's going to get what he's always gotten. It's like they say, if you want to get results that like you've never gotten, you got to do something you've never done before. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I do want to point out, and I said this to my friend over the phone before we started this, Steve, is Errol Spence was supposed to get a haircut before this fucking fight. I don't know what was going on with his hair, but he was supposed to get the classic taper fade, the low fade. That's what he was supposed to do. The fact that he came up in there with them naps and all of that shit, trying to go for the easy E look, I was like, first of all, that's where he went wrong at, bro. That's not your look, Errol. If you're listening to this, that was not your look, dog. That was not your look, man. Cut that hair.
From a non-technical point of view of the fight, and like more like theatrical point of view of the fight, I would say this. I would say once I saw Errol Spence with that kind of hairstyle and not wanting to cut his hair, I was like, okay, Errol Spence is kind of in the mindset where he thinks that things like this, like not having a haircut, is going to affect the way that he's going to be in the ring. So he's not really worried about the actual boxing science, at least not most of the time. He's worried about not cutting his hair, thinking
how the hell are you gonna have 29 fights with a nice clean haircut, and then all of a sudden the biggest fight of your life, you're gonna come in there with
like a hobo,
with no shape up, no nothing, no shape up. His hairline wasn't even sharp, yo.
Look like, man, I'm training, man. I ain't here to look good. I'm here to win.
What's funny is like
it didn't help him. So Errol Spence, if you're listening to this, cut your hair, man. Cut your hair, bro.
You stupid.
That's what I'm saying.
Ain't for everybody. It's not for him.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
It's not for him. But anyway,
no, because I could just hear a comment. Did these motherfuckers just talk about a haircut?
Hey, it's true. It's true. Hey, when I spar, I always have a shape up, man. I always have a shape up. Always got the clean fade, because you got to feel good. It's an energy thing,
I ain't got no
man.
asthma, but I'm having one now.
Yeah, because Steve, don't you feel better after you come from the barbershop or after you shave, or do you feel worse with a 5 o'clock shadow? You know what I'm saying? You feel better clean shave or a 5 o'clock shadow?
Shave my head, bro. Yeah,
exactly.
Put some alcohol on it and be like, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Smell good on you.
That's what I'm saying. So you need every edge you can get. You feel good, you look good, you feel good. I'm pretty sure if he had the short haircut that he had, fighting Danny Garcia, Ugas, Kell, Brook, all of that, we might have had a different fight last night. You know what I'm saying? We never know. You know what I'm saying? But
this was good, man. It was great conversating with y'all.
Nah, absolutely. Yeah, appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks
good boxing talk. Good boxing debates.
Bro.
Yeah, good boxing debates, good boxing talk. And as always, I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.
Yeah, man. Mr. D. Hoo-yah.